as I sit down with Lekeisha Mosley, a certified John Maxwell coach, podcast host of Confused to Focus Talks with Lekeisha, and author. We'll take a look at her inspiring journey and her mission to help midlife women and others break free from toxic patterns. We'll also discuss the summit, Breaking Free from Toxic Patterns 2024, which will equip attendees with practical tools and overcoming toxic cycles and regaining clarity. You don't want to miss this. I'm Val the Voice Johnson, and this is the Interludes Podcast. The Interludes Podcast,
a Pure Lighthouse production. This episode is brought to you by
A DJ Saved My Life. It's the new ebook from yours truly, Val the Voice Johnson. It's a heartfelt tribute to the healing power of music and the therapeutic potential of podcasting, with all the ABCs of podcasting rolled into one. Visit our store at purelighthouse.media.net for more information.
And now, all the way from the south side of Chicago, give it up for your host, Val the Voice Johnson.
Hey, I'm thrilled to have you joining me here on the Interludes Podcast. Today's episode is especially meaningful because I'm sitting down once again with a friend to the show and true inspiration, Lekeisha Mosley. We first spoke to her back in season 6, and she's returning to share even more of her wisdom. Not only is she a certified coach and fellow podcaster, but she's also a veteran and dedicated wellness advocate. In the House of Creativity, Lekeisha leads our Wellness Wednesdays and brings a daily wellness segment that has empowered so many of us to live our best lives. It's been incredible getting to know her as both a colleague and a friend. So take a listen and enjoy this insightful conversation with the Queen of Maryland. That's what we call her on the House of Creativity, Lekeisha Mosley. I've learned how to, I call it play nicely with others. It's called having a creative fam. I discovered this creative fam on this platform called the House of Creativity. And this young lady has been phenomenal in, number one, being a personal empowerment coach. She is John C. Maxwell certified in coaching. And of course, doing Wellness Wednesdays with her has been a pleasure. Also, along with that, she is the author of not one, but 2 books and the host of her platform called Confused to Focus Talks with Lekeisha. That gives you a little hint of who I'm about to bring on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Lekeisha Mosley. How are you, Grand Rising? How's it going? Woo, 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 woo.
Grand Rising. I am so happy to be here with you today.
I know. We have been I like to call it very productive bees in the arena. And like I said, it's been really good to, go ahead and share these things. I'm really curious, when someone decides they want to become a personal empowerment coach, what's those thoughts or processes that lead you in that direction of saying, I've been empowered, but now I want to personally empower others? Where does that come from?
Yes. Honestly, for me, when I began to take a hold of who I am and what that means to be me, you become really empowered. You really become resonated with yourself. And I began to really speak on it, especially when you've overcome so much, any challenges and things that come across your plate and you overcome it. I mean, it really puts a champion badge on yourself, and you just feel empowered and inspired, and you want to shoot the stars and share everybody. So honestly, it really just invokes so much into me to be able to share it everyone. So definitely being empowered, truly inspired.
For folks that don't know who Lekeisha Mosley is, who are you and what brought you to being an empowerment coach?
Yes, well, I am Lekeisha. I am a author, a midlife empowerment coach out here to shed light to the world to ensure that they can overcome anything. And just to be a person of influence, I want to make sure that you can overcome anything and you can actually oversee any obstacles that come in your path. And you can actually take control of your life. And if you have personal challenges, you can overcome them. And my whole goal is for you to know that you can, and with my own stories, with my overcoming and with health challenges as itself. So I began to speak about it and really show others that if I did it, you can too. So it's important for me to be able to inspire others that feel the same way and let them know that you can do it. I promise you can, because it did it for me.
And your journey from being a veteran, a mom, a wife, let us know what that was like, being and serving our country, and what led to other things happening in your world.
Yes, this is such a great question. Honestly, my journey when it came to the military, it came with, just the resilience to really want to honestly show others that they can do it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it was to pay for college. It was to pay for college, honestly. And my father and my mom, they was all about me making sure I had my higher education. So they put me in, the best schools, in the community. They wanted me to actually excel, not just go to school, but they wanted me to go to private school. So I went to private school most of my life, and I began to have higher education in that way. Now, I would say this: once I graduated, was about to graduate, my dad told me, they say, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you, we sacrificed so much for you to go to school, but when it comes to college, you're gonna have to make things happen on your own. So that was a shock for me. So at the end of the day, I just knew that, God was going to really triumph me when it came to this. So honestly, I began to really listen to those TV shows, or maybe, the flyers when it came to the Army and the military. And I was like, let me see about this. Mind you, I was nervous at first because I thought everybody got shot in the military. I said, it's like that. I mean, honestly, we just, you don't do that. But then talking to a recruiter, I realized that was not the case. Honestly, you're defending the country. You're actually doing something that's great for yourself, and you're actually able to have a great career. And guess what? They had to pay for school. That sold me, honestly. And that started my journey when it came to my life with the military. So I'm so glad that I did say yes to it, because it gave me so many opportunities for me to be able to level, and definitely gave me resources where I can grow into. So I began to really be a dot then. And I began to honestly, understand that I can actually persevere and move forward in anything. And honestly, it was the greatest opportunity that I did for my life.
Yeah, and a lot of young people go into the military and they use that to pay for school. But if there was a life lesson that you learned from the military, what's something that you took away from the military that you actually use in your empowerment coaching?
Yes, there was a lot of things that I took away. Honestly, it was resilience, courage, champion myself, strength. I mean, I felt like I can do anything when I began to do some of the things that the military has shown me. And I said, wow, I can actually begin to actually turn over someone bigger than me and actually achieve that. And they actually show me the different ways to do that safely, of course. But just be empowered to know the ways, it was really amazing for myself, and to be able to really achieve that and actually be able to tour all over the world. I mean, I traveled with my family, but I didn't go over, location to location, multiple locations, and actually not at the expense of my parents, but at the expense of somebody else, and actually able to achieve success in that way. It really just broadened my horizon, honestly. It began to show me a different way of looking at things, and I was able to actually know that I can actually achieve anything. So the military did give me strength in that area.
Wow. And just off the top of my head, where have you traveled that has left an indelible mark in your memory?
Yes, the travels were in country, not overseas. Traveling down south, it was really, really nice just to be able in locations at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, in the North Carolinas, being able to be in Florida, definitely in Georgia. Just being able to see sceneries there was really amazing for me. And I realized that everyone did things different. I'm from Detroit. I always say, what up, though? And, I'm a city girl. That's where I grew up. Mind you, my family was from the South. They were from North Carolina and from Little Rock, Arkansas. But I resided in the city. So I was resided where there was a street light everywhere. Now, when I traveled to the South, they did things different. There were not street lights everywhere. I mean, it was actually deep woods. And, if you drive somewhere and there is, everything's dark, be careful because there are no street lights there. So it was always call it, you're not in Kansas anymore kind of syndrome, like you're not by yourself. So, but it was really great. It was something different. And I was able to understand that I can actually commune in these different locations. They did things different. They ate differently. They actually prepared. They were nice. It was not city life. It was something different for myself. And I learned a lot and learned to really begin to understand a new way of thinking. Honestly, it was great.
Yeah, because I grew up down the street from you, not in Detroit. I was in the Chi. I was in Chicago, so that's down the street from you. Hi, neighbor.
I always call it 4 hours away.
Yeah. It's like we're neighbors, and we share this big thing called Lake Michigan.
Yes.
One thing that I thought about is I'm grateful for the experience of being out of Chicago and into New York. Like the world lives in New York City. You can go to any section of any part of the 5 boroughs and you could be in a completely different culture. The culture that is American culture or beyond, like what it would be your advice if there is anyone that has an interest in following through and saying, you know what, I'm thinking about going into military, going into, were you Army, Navy? What were you? What was the service?
Absolutely. So I started off with the Army. So I did serve in the Air Force later in life with the military. It was really awesome just to be able to transition into that. And just serving, I would start off with the Army. Being with the Army, it was really nice, being able to understand the basic skill sets, to be able to understand how, to actually build a dam and actually be able to, self-care products and things like that. You can build, you can actually eat in the field. I was eating in the field. So you can actually eat and have different locations there, but you can actually build shelter in the field, actually build a camp in the field. You know what I'm saying? It's sleeping in the woods, like literally self skills like that. That's something that you can learn. So the military, honestly, it's a great thing that really broaden horizons to let you know that you can actually build in any location, in any area you can, honestly, just with the simple tools. So it was really, really great for me.
Yeah. And I feel like I want to make sure that people are familiarized with your background, because I think a lot of how you are now and the training that you received from the military first definitely helped shape to who you are today. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. My training for what I am today, honestly, it really contributes to the military. Just understanding service, understanding, don't leave a man behind, always be that champion to somebody. If somebody needs something, if they're struggling, be there to make sure that they're safe and, if they can move forward. Honestly, don't just put a Band-Aid on an open wound. Make sure to nurture that wound and make sure it is safe and make sure to get somebody else to help them out too. And where I don't have to do things by myself, always connect with others. Somebody is out there that actually can help you with anything that you have moving on. So I always had that mantra, and the military had that ingrained in me very early. And I joined the military at 18 years old, so It was a huge impact on my life. Yes.
Yeah. When we come back, I want to talk to you now about what you're doing and how you have transitioned into being a I like to call it a personal empowerment coach that was certified by John Maxwell, which means, ladies and gentlemen, you've invested in yourself when you become John Maxwell certified. I'm just saying. But we'll be back right after this. Newsflash. Val the Voice Johnson is currently one of the lead moderators on the platform The House of Creativity on Clubhouse. Join her for Motivational Mondays and Business Tips and Tricks Tuesdays every week with inspiring music, aspirational clips, and fascinating guests. Also, Val the Voice can be heard leading the THOC news team with Latino, wellness, and entertainment news that you can use to peruse your life and style today. Join us every Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the House of Creativity. To tune in or to become a guest, please visit our website, linktr.ee/Pure Light Media, and use the hashtag word THOC Live. And now, back to our show. Queen Lekeisha. We call ourselves kings and queens in this space called the House of Creativity. And I'm just real excited about what's going on. And of course, for your platform, you have created a couple of platforms. Before the show, we talked about you writing a blog and then also hosting shows. I saw some old video of Queen Lekeisha hosting a show like television and mic. There was cameras and everything, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's been doing this. She's not new to this. She's true to this. But a couple of years ago, Queen Lekeisha, when did you start the first iteration of your podcast, and who were you talking to at that point?
Absolutely. I believe I started my first podcast. It was around 2016. And it was around the time where I started my publishing my first book, How to Get Unstuck. That was the first version. And I began to show, that particular book, and I self-published it myself. Honestly, it was just something that I had to get out and really express to the world. It was just something that in me that really needed to get some verbiage out, how you can break free from something, and honestly, my motto was always, the woman with the issue of blood. And I used to begin to think about that and how she triumphed, even with her, illnesses and things that was going on with her, she persevered. And she walked towards to make sure that, for her to be able to get the healing that she needed. So really, honestly, I felt like I was her in a sense. I had to get this word out. I had to begin to talk about it. So in that regard, I began to start there with my podcast in 2016. And I began to champion my book, my self-published book. And I began to take it to churches. I began to take it to locations and began to get this word out. So within that process, I began to connect with other people that actually was able to take my book and said, you know what, this book is actually really great. It really needs to be broadcasted out somewhere. And going around in social media, it was Facebook too. And I began to connect with others, and they began to journey me over to Jerry Royce, who is Jerry Royce Live. And I began to connect with him, and he was all about empowerment in live podcasting. And it was through Positive Power, LLC. And it was a Christian radio station. And I connected with him, and he's, I began to be able to broadcast a little bit with him when it came to my book. And then he opened me up the opportunity to actually be able to go live with my book on his platform. And as I went live with my book on the platform, I began to process live podcasts, and I began to interview others, and I began to have courses, and it started from there. And the Lekeisha Mosley show was on, and I have not stopped since then. So it's been really great. I've been able to produce. I began to have my own conferences, and it began to scale. So that was a journey I loved. And I know that started off with me speaking out and trusting. Amen.
Yeah. So that means 2016. So we're talking 8 years that you have been in some form producing podcasts or something, a presentation. Your first book, tell us about your first book and what was the inspiration behind writing that book? Because when you first came to us, you were telling us the Interludes Podcast platform about your first book. How was it and how did it come to be?
Yes. So my first book was called How to Get Unstuck. And it really is a self-help book, honestly, for others to be able to really relieve themselves from being stuck, for them to have clarity and empowerment moving forward. And I began to really talk about it with 4 steps, believe, receive, have faith, and definitely began to empower from there. And honestly, it was really, really great for me. And I began to understand just really how the process has really just helped us all really to understand how we can trust and believe in God, and knowing that we can excel and just really be a benefit for each other. And honestly, as you begin that process of understanding, decide what you want, and actually and believing in what you want, and actually able to go in that process of understanding, belief, and giving thanks and gratitude, honestly, you cannot lose. And I began to have that mantra ever since.
And I think that mantra, and definitely the thought process of putting this book together, is definitely what led to the latest alliteration of your platform. Tell us about the Confused to Focus Talks with Lekeisha, and how that came about with your platform, and also with writing and all the like. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the Confused to Focus Talks with Lekeisha is really just an overload process of understanding how important that so many needed to be broken free from their limited beliefs. And honestly, I realized that it was a lot of people that were literally traumatized into mental health. Honestly, just not knowing how to rebuild, and honestly, not knowing how to really exist in themselves and understand with clarity. So me knowing that they really just needed some support and help with this, it honestly became a part of my mantra as well. Just like the first book, How to Get Unstuck, Confused to Focus, and just really just understanding how, that, most people need to just really break free from a lot of emotional abuse and a lot of, the traumatic experiences that they're having. And honestly, to know that they can actually achieve success. A lot of times people give up. They say, I don't have time for that. And honestly, with that being said, I knew that they had time for that. So I began to not just me speak, I began to have other people on there speak about their stories, their journeys, and their ways, how they persevered and how they overcame those same situations that I had and that everyone else had. And they began to champion it. And that it really, honestly, Queen Val, it really has been a mantra ever since. Everyone was able to have a voice. Everyone is able to triumph themselves, and they were able to lift themselves. So it really has been inspiring.
I know. And I think what's really inspiring is what was developed for the YouTube channel. I want to call it the theme song for the platform Confused to Focus Talks with Lekeisha. Let's take a listen. I got an opportunity to record a promo for our audio show for Confused to Focus Talks with Lekeisha, and I think I like how it came out. So let me go ahead and play it for you guys. Here we go.
Feel like women, our destiny.
As we navigate the journey from confusion to clarity in a world where women face career shifts, empty nests, and the challenges of holistic wellness, mind and soul, find balance, empowerment, and strength. Our show features thought leaders in the wellness space and offers intuitive mental health tips from a John Maxwell certified leader and coach. Together, we rise, breaking barriers and achieving our dreams. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern for Confused to Focus Talks with Lekeisha.
From confusion to focus, we'll find our way. With Lekeisha's wisdom, we'll seize the day.
On the I Am Lekeisha YouTube channel. Let's find our way together. Written by Queen Lekeisha and also produced by another friend to the show, J. Mullane, also known as Wise. It was a great collaboration. Right about here is where I would have a transition to another song, but Back to the interview. Here we go. Of course, we are letting people know that on her YouTube channel, Confucive Focus Talks with Lekeisha streams live every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, because we got people in different parts of the country, so we kind of got to represent for that. But like I said, how has it been literally going into your wellness lane and definitely talking about how people, being this empowerment coach, how people can go from, oh my gosh, my mind is everywhere, to focus, like knowing exactly what they need and how they need it?
Yes, one thing that I have noticed, that, we need to champion ourselves. And, that's why I focus on midlife women, and men as well, too. I want to make sure the men are not left out, but I do focus on the women a lot because I'm a woman. And, I began to say a lot of times in midlife, that is a turning point. Children are grown, they're leaving out into the neck of the woods. They're doing what they're doing. And, it's the time that we need to really take care and champion ourselves. We forget about the goals that we have in ourselves. We forget about the goals that were within us, when we're raising them. And we really need to champion ourselves to understand, no, we have a purpose. There's things in you that needs to be shared. There's things in you that still need to be expressed. Don't forget about that, because a lot of times we die on the inside because we don't have a vision. We don't have a purpose. We lose our identity. We don't know who we are anymore. And it's important that we know who we are and that we have, that goal in place to understand that when you find out who you are, share with somebody else, because there's somebody else that's like you that don't understand that they have worth. And that is my mantra. That is my mission. And with the Confused to Focus Talks with Lekeisha, that theme that you gave literally contributes to everything that I am. It's all women of all phases in life that goes through this journey. A lot of women are self-care, workers out there, and they're supporting the elderly. They're supporting it, but they are exhausted and they're stressed, and a lot of times we need to champion ourselves. They have love too. You can set some time for you. Go out to the movies. Go have fun. Go express that. Don't forget to do that, because you need to know that you can win and you actually do things of that nature. So when you do all of that together and have that balance in place, oh, wow. The sky is the limit. It really is.
I guess people would consider that to be selfish, to think about your needs and yourself and say that I need a break, or I just want to go to the movies or relax and kick up my feet. And it sounds like you're saying, no, we need to pay attention to that. I have a very good friend of mine who is caregiving for her mom, and she joined a group where they are all caregivers. And so she's always looks forward to when she's able to just take a break and do something outside of caring for her mom. Because as many of us are aging and we have aging parents, that becomes something that we do. And it sounds like you have really thought about that and thought through that particular process. We both are on a platform on an app called Clubhouse, called the House of Creativity on Wednesdays. And Monday through Friday, Queen Lekeisha provides us with a wellness article. And I'm telling you, more and more people are just chiming in and paying attention to the article and definitely what you share regarding this. I think what's exciting to me is that you have an upcoming summit that I love, and I know our listeners would love to know a little bit more about. It's the 2024. Tell us more about that.
Yes. That's an amazing summit. It's called Breaking Free from Toxic Patterns. And it's a transformational summit for all of us to be able to engage and to understand how we can break free from a lot of the crucial areas in life that we don't know how to break free from. And honestly, for we can gain clarity, for we can take control of our lives. A lot of times we need to know how we can actually persevere some of the challenges that we have in life. And I'm telling you, it's not just myself as a lead host. It's 6 other amazing coaches and trainers and speakers that are going to be coming aboard the amazing summit to be able to express how they broke free and how they be able to translate life and be able to have great empowerment. And honestly, we're talking about financial coaches. We're talking about therapists. We're talking about tech coach and technology, and we're talking about, U.S. veterans, retired. We're talking about all different walks of life coming together and showing you how you can move forward ahead and how you can actually triumph yourselves. And they do it in their own way, just like myself, and they're able to share how they broke free. And then they're able to tell you how you can do the same. So, the great thing about it is that we're all a community, we're a family net, and we're able to express ourselves authentically. So you definitely want to tune into it on my website on IamLekeisha.com to register for it. So I'm excited about it.
And of course, if there are some things you're trying to break free from, especially mental blocks, the ones that have you feeling confused as you go through your day and you're like, no. Or if you have negative self-talk, that's something that I've been definitely battling with over the last couple of years. But as we wrap up, Lekeisha, what is something you want people to know about you and how being a personal empowerment coach has helped you in your walk?
One thing that being a personal empowerment coach has helped me, because I was able to release, to actually be open to receive something new. A lot of times we may have a childhood where we may have a platform in life that we have reoccurring episodes of the same thing that we grew up in that we really are displeased with. I had to learn that I didn't ensure it, that I didn't love it, and I didn't want it anymore. And I had to begin to understand that I deserve to win. I deserve to achieve success. So I began to understand how empowering myself in this way, I began to break free from it. I began to understand, adopt a new way of thinking, new words to say to myself, understand to nurture myself. And I began to give myself some self-love.
One thing that I love about Queen Lekeisha is that she has a phenomenal way to, I like to call it, empower you from where you are. And that was one of the reasons why I was like, I would love to have her on my platform. Like I said, she's a friend to the show, and we produce a couple of shows together. But definitely it's been wonderful and phenomenal that, number one, you can be empowered. You can fight through and get through whatever trauma that can happen or that could happen to you. I feel more empowered just knowing Queen Lekeisha. Like I said, Queen, this has been a real pleasure. And I thank you so much for letting us know what you've been doing.
Wow, it's been such an honor. I'm just so thankful for the opportunity, honestly, Val, just to be able to shed light for others to be able to understand that you can do anything and be anything. And just to have an opportunity to share that means the world to me. If one person's life gets changed, I know I did my part. I did my mission, and I'm never going to stop. This is really, truly an opportunity for me to shed the purpose that God given me. So I'm excited about it. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
I had such a wonderful time speaking with Lekeisha Mosley earlier this season. She's been an incredible part of the Interludes Podcast family and a true supporter of all of our platforms, from the Interludes Extra Talk on Tuesdays to the Pull Up Podcast Show with Coach Tony Thompson. Her commitment to wellness and the research she brings to the House of Creativity's daily segments have truly enriched our community. And speaking of community, I want to remind everyone about the amazing group of podcasters, entrepreneurs, and creatives we have, who, just like the founders, Delano A. Johnson and my writing mentor, Monique Lisa Johnson, say every single day to embrace our creativity. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, I'm Val the Voice Johnson, and this is the Interludes Podcast. Next time on the Interludes Podcast, it's time to take a look at A DJ Saved My Life, the ebook written by Val the Voice Johnson. I'm going to go ahead and read a couple of sections from the book as we have an extended version of a DJ motivational moment. Join me next time on the Interludes Podcast. The Interludes Podcast,
a Peer Lighthouse production. This episode is brought to you by
A DJ Saved My Life. It's the new ebook from yours truly, Val the Voice Johnson. It's a heartfelt tribute to the healing power of music and the therapeutic potential of podcasting with all the ABCs of podcasting rolled into one. Visit our store at purelightHousemedia.net for more information.
To subscribe to our YouTube channel or join Interludes Facebook group, visit the website linktree/purelightmedia. That's linktr.ee/purelightmedia.